Chapter 1. The Storm. Odysseus, one of the Greek princes who had fought in the war, gazed at the smoking ruins of the city of Troy. The war against Troy was finally over, after 9 long years. "It's time to set sail for home, don't you think?" he said to his men. They had all sailed with him from the island of Ithaca all those years ago. The men agreed. "I can't wait to get home and see my family," said one. "If the gods are willing, you will see them in a few days," said Odysseus. He thought of his own family, his beautiful wife Penelope, his son Telemachus, and his dog Argus. When he had left, Telemachus had been a boy. He would now be a young man. "Let's go," he said to his men. They went down to the shore, where their ship was moored. All the other Greek kings, princes, and warriors were about to board their own ships. Odysseus said goodbye to all the heroes alongside whom he had fought for the last 9 years. "Goodbye, Agamemnon. Farewell, Menelaus. Have a safe journey back. You too, Odysseus." Then Odysseus took his men aboard his own ship, which was black with a crimson prow. They untied the rope, took the oars, and rowed until they were out of the harbor. Other Greek ships rowed alongside them. Odysseus ordered the sails to be raised. The sails of the other ships went up too. The ships fanned out as the wind carried them over the sea. They were all returning to different islands or different parts of Greece. It was not long before they disappeared from view. "We'll soon be home," Odysseus thought, standing by the ship's prow and watching the water scud by. As evening began to fall, the wind blew harder. Storm clouds gathered overhead. A violent peal of thunder burst out, and the sky lit up with lightning. A heavy, stinging rain pelted the ship. Soon, the storm was driving the ship along at a frightening pace. "We're going in the wrong direction," shouted Odysseus. He tried to tack against the wind, but the storm was just too strong. It was impossible to resist. Huge waves crashed onto the deck. "Get down below, men," Odysseus shouted. "There's nothing we can do. We'll just have to ride out the storm." Odysseus and his men went down below. They huddled in the dark as the ship pitched and tossed violently, a plaything of the storm. No one got much sleep that night. But the ship held firm. At dawn, the storm finally slackened. The rain stopped and the wind dropped. Odysseus crawled out onto the deck. The sea was calm now, blue and glittering in the early morning sun. His men staggered out on deck to join him. "What a terrible night!" "Where are we?" asked one of his men. "I don't know," said Odysseus. He scanned the horizon, shading his eyes. "Look, there's an island. We'll land there. We can take on water, and if anyone lives there, we'll find out where we are." They set course for the island. As it grew larger, Odysseus saw that it was a beautiful place. The beach was of white sand. Tall green trees swayed in the breeze, and the hills behind them rose majestically into the sky. "I like the look of this place," said Odysseus. High up above the clouds, the gods laughed. Chapter 2. The Lotus Eaters. The ship's keel bumped onto the soft white sand. Odysseus ordered his men to drop anchor. They all went ashore, carrying goatskin bags to fill with water. They took their swords with them, for they did not know if the island was inhabited and, if it was, whether the inhabitants were friendly. They soon found a stream. They sat down beside it and refreshed themselves and filled their goatskin bags with water. While we're here, we should explore a little, Odysseus said. You three go inland and see if there are any people dwelling here. Who knows, they might invite us for supper. Three of Odysseus's sailors marched inland through the trees. They looked cautiously about them, their hands on their swords, fearing an attack. But no attack came. Soon they heard the sound of music. They followed the sound and came to a clearing where there were huts and people lying on the ground in white robes. A musician was playing a stringed instrument and singing a soft, gentle song. A thin plume of gray smoke rose from a fire, and there was a sweet, flowery scent in the air. It was a pleasant scene, and all the villagers seemed very relaxed. They smiled at Odysseus's men without even getting up to greet them. Greetings, said one of the villagers, lazily raising a hand. It's nice to see some new faces. Are you hungry? Well, a bit, said one of the sailors. Try some of these delicious lotus flowers then, said the man. We don't eat meat here, just these lovely flowers. That's why they call us the lotus eaters. Two of the sailors nibbled the flowers, cautiously at first, then more and more greedily. Great big smiles spread over their faces. These lotuses are delicious, said one man. And they make you feel so good, said the other sailor. So relaxed and carefree. He slid to the ground and lay there, still chewing. Yes, we love our lotuses, said the chief villager. That's all we do here. We just eat lotuses all day long. But what about you? He turned to the third sailor, who still had not tried the lotus flowers. Don't you want any? The third sailor shook his head. Thanks, but I should get back and tell my captain what's happening. Great idea, said the chief villager. Bring him along. There are enough lotus flowers for everyone. The sailor ran back to the shore where Odysseus and the rest of the crew were waiting. He told Odysseus what had happened. It's as if they're drugged, he said. They are not interested in anything except the lotus flowers. I'd like to try those lotus flowers, said one of the crew. They sound really good. Odysseus frowned at him. Don't be stupid. If we all eat the lotus flowers, we'll be trapped here. We'll never get home. Come on, we have to rescue those two idiots. They all made their way to the village. When they got there, the two sailors who had stayed there greeted Odysseus with big grins on their faces. Captain, it's good to see you. You just have to try some of these fantastic lotus flowers. Yes, said the chief villager. There are plenty to spare. Come and join us. He thrust a handful of lotus flowers under Odysseus's nose. Odysseus pushed them aside. No thanks, we have to leave. And these two are coming with us. The two men protested. "Oh, come on, Captain. We don't have to go just yet. Let's eat some more lotus flowers. Grab them," Odysseus said to the crew.
Hi, Daddy. Hi, Daddy. Hi, Daddy.
They took hold of the two men and dragged them from the village. The men kicked and struggled all the way to the ship. The villagers watched, smiling, chewing lotus flowers. At last, Odysseus got the men back to the ship. They boarded and pushed off. The crew had to keep a tight hold of the two men. They kept trying to break free and dive into the sea so they could swim back to the island. At last, the island disappeared from view, and the two men calmed down. "That was a narrow escape," said Odysseus. "We could all have been stuck there if we hadn't been careful. Well, let's hope the next place we stop at will be safer." High in the sky, the gods laughed even harder.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Chapter 3. The Cyclops. Next day, Odysseus's lookout men spied another island. This, too, looked like a pleasant place, with soft sandy beaches and groves of poplar trees. Odysseus ordered the ship to be beached. He asked most of the men to stay with the ship and guard it, while he and 12 of his best men went inland to explore. They took some skins of wine with them to offer as a gift if they should meet anyone. They walked along the beach, searching for streams. After a while, they came to a big dark cave. Odysseus peered inside and saw that there were pens full of lambs, baaing gently in the gloom. A fire smoldered in the middle of the cave. There were shelves laden with cheeses, baskets of bread, and pails of milk, but nobody was there. "This is quite a find," said one of Odysseus's men. "Let's grab some of this bread and cheese and a couple of the lambs, and we can take them back to the ship and have a feast." "No," said Odysseus sternly. "We are not thieves. We will wait here and meet the owner. It looks as if he is a shepherd, so he will be out grazing his flock. Perhaps he will offer us some hospitality when he comes back." They sat down in the cave to wait. After a while, they heard the sound of heavy footsteps and a flock of sheep approaching. And then a terrifying figure appeared at the mouth of the cave. He was a giant, twice as tall as two normal men, and he had only one eye, a great big staring eye right in the middle of his forehead. He was driving a flock of sheep and carrying a huge bundle of firewood. Odysseus suddenly felt doubtful about receiving a welcome from this one-eyed giant. He made a gesture to his men, and they all retreated silently.